Welcome to the Jupiter Joe Money Show. I'm Joe Thomas. I'm your host today, and my co-host is my lovely daughter, Jenny Thomas.
That's right. We've got a good show today.
All right.
We're talking about the paycheck that never retires.
I like that.
So you're going to retire, but your paycheck never stops.
Right.
Mailbox money, we've talked about it, lots of times, knowing to the penny how much money you're going to be having when you do retire.
Mm-hmm.
And, we always talk about 401ks. We talk about retirement plans, that they all do different things. But when it comes to actually retiring, that's when you have to figure out, what you need to do with these accounts.
Yeah.
Even beforehand.
And how much money it's going to be per month. It's important.
Right. So talking about compounding interest, the eighth wonder of the world, Albert Einstein, Warren Buffett talks about it. That's why he did so well with, all of his billions going off of time, having enough time to be able to save a lot of money.
Right.
Compound interest.
Yep.
And
earning interest on your interest.
Exactly. And annuities are deferred,
Vehicle,
where you're earning that interest. How does that work for people who don't really understand the deferred part of it?
So that's what your 401k does. That's what your IRA does. It defers taxes, and you defer money in it, no tax until you take it later. But you're earning interest on your interest. So your money's accumulating, and you're earning interest on the interest that you would have taken out. Instead, you're leaving it there and you're earning interest on it.
Okay.
So if you put in 100,000, it grows to 101,000 with interest, and it's growing to 102, 105. But more importantly, you're not paying tax on it for a later date. You're earning interest on the interest you would have paid taxes on. So it's triple compounding with an annuity.
Okay. So if you compare that to like somebody who has a CD, you're paying the tax per year. So you're not getting the triple compounding.
Correct. You're just getting compounding of interest during the time that you don't take it. But when you take it, you're taxed on it, and you lost the interest that you would have earned on it.
See, that's a big difference. I think a lot of people don't understand.
They don't at all. So, I had somebody a long time ago, this particular lady said to me, she goes, tax deferrals, no big deal. I go, really? I go, how long did you have your 401k? I had it 30 years. I go, for 30 years, you didn't pay tax. She goes, yeah. What's your point? I go, if you had paid tax every year, you'd have half of what you have now. She goes, yeah, I guess compounding, It is a big deal. No taxes is a big deal. Compounding of interest is a big deal. The reason being is because you're earning interest on your money. It's working for you. That's what they mean when they say working. That's why when people leave money in a CD just sitting there or a money market or a checking account doing nothing, put that money to work for you. It's free money. I know you're going to talk about an example, but we have many clients right now who have CDs, and rates of CDs have come down. They're like 3%, 3.5%, whatever the rate is, it is. You want to call me and tell me it's 4, it's 4. You can get 4 maybe for 5 months. We're going to give you 5.5% for 5 years, locked in and guaranteed. That's a big deal. So not only you're earning compounding of interest of 5.5%, but you're not paying tax on that money for 5 years.
Exactly.
If you're in a 22% tax bracket, that means you're earning more interest than you would have if you put it in something else. Tell me what the numbers are.
Okay, so I ran this. You put in 200,000 for 5 years fixed, and you put in 200. You're going to have.
How much is the interest rate? First of all,
the interest rate is 5.25.
5.25% for 5 years fixed. No difference. It won't change every year. It's going to stay the same at 5.25%. Yep.
Okay, and then at the end of the 5 years, you're going to have 258,310 guaranteed.
So you went from 200 to 258, and you paid nothing on the taxes on the 58,000. Now you will eventually when you take it, but you can roll this over again.
Yes.
And tax defer it further. That's the compounding of interest and the growth, the tax deferral. That's where you benefit.
Exactly.
And this has a withdrawal option where you can take a withdrawal every year if you want. You can take it monthly or you can take it annually. You just tell us, clients tell us, yeah, we'll take what's the annual interest per year?
The annual is, $10,500.
$10,500 guaranteed interest per year. That's about $837 a month in your account every month for the next 5 years. And guess what? At the end of 5 years, they give you back your $200,000 without a charge, a fee, or anything. Now, disclose you do not want to cash it in early. There's a surrender charge. Well, we're going to disclose that. We're going to talk to you about that and how that works.
Mm-hmm. And this is what a lot of our clients, like what you talk about, is something where you're earning guaranteed interest for a certain period of time and then you get your money back or you roll it over, you have options, and then you split it where they might have more money where they have an income annuity.
Why don't you show the income annuity? So in this case, what we do with a lot of clients, let's say you come in with $500,000, just for a simple explanation. We may put $250,000 in a fixed MIGA, multi-year guarantee annuity, where you're covered for 5 years, locked in the rate at 5.25%. And you can either take the interest or let it defer. It's up to you. Or you start an income stream in an income annuity where you get a bonus and then we start paying you an income. So what does that look like income-wise?
All right. So $200,000, this is for the income annuity, and you're starting income in 5 years.
Right.
And you're going to have over $23,000 per year.
So let's talk about this. If you started this in 5 years, you'd have $23,000 worth of income on this one alone for $200,000, and you'd have $10,500 there. What's that? $34,000 a year?
Yeah.
Not bad for using your money properly and making it work for you.
Exactly. And just to point out too, this income annuity, you start out with $200,000. At the end of 5 years, your income bucket's almost $350,000.
Right. Now, disclosure, that income bucket, people always say, well, how do they give you this big bonus, right? The big bonus in this particular instance is given to you for future use. You have to take income, and only you or your spouse are able to get that money as income. And when you pass away, that bucket's not going to your kids. The cash balance of whatever's not been used, that's invested, is going to go to your kids. So you don't disinherit them. Now, you may reach a point down the road, let's talk about this and disclose this, 12, 15, 18 years, there may be no money left. But guess what? Your income still continues for life. If you live until you're 110, being fictitious for, kind of crazy right now, you still get the income. Now, most people are going to live until their 80s or 90s, so they're going to get the money. But keep in mind, if you have income coming in at 65 for the rest of your life, you live 20 years, you're now 85, you pass away, and your spouse now continues to live for another 5 or 10 years, they still get the money for another 5 or 10 years. If there's anything left, your kids will get it. Probably not going to be too much left. Let's be realistic here. But you're not buying it for your kids. You're buying it for you. I have clients come in all the time, husbands and wives, say, oh, we're worried about my daughter. We're worried about my son. And that's wonderful. I am too. I've got 3 kids, right? You spend your whole life nurturing them, supporting them, putting them through college. But there comes a point in your life, you and your wife or your husband, your spouse, your significant other, you have to realize that it's also important to take care of yourself and worry about yourself. And, it's like I had a guy in last week from up in Tequesta, I think it was, wherever he's from. And he said to me, Joe, he said, we take a vacation every year when we get our income stream. They do it annually. So every year they take their income stream and they go on vacation. So he's buying another one. And I said, just out of curiosity, what are you going to do with this money? He goes, no, we're going to go on vacation, another vacation. I said, that's wonderful. I mean, that's what life is about, doing the things you like to do. I want to go play golf when I retire more. Go fishing, whatever it may be, right? But you have to have the money to do that. Now, what's going to support your income is a guaranteed paycheck. I call it mailbox money. You got to get that mailbox money every month. Unfortunately, nobody gets a check mailed to them anymore. It's direct deposited, but you can get a direct deposit. You can get a mail check if you want. Hardly anybody ever requires that, but you could do that.
Everybody wants auto deposit.
Auto direct deposit, yeah. It's an easier way to go. I hated it in the beginning, by the way. I never wanted anybody touching my checking account. That was like probably 20 years ago. The insurance company started, your paycheck has to go in an account, in your account, direct deposit. I said, I don't want that. And for years I had a regular check, but that's just me.
You're listening to the Jupiter Joe Money Show. We come to you each and every week, and you can watch us on YouTube. Make sure you just subscribe to our channel, the Jupiter Joe Money Show. And today's show is the paycheck that never retires. So if you'd like to learn more, go to jupiterjoe.com. You can schedule a free appointment over the phone or in the office here in Jupiter. Go to jupiterjoe.com or give us a call, 561-743-0999.
One thing I want to bring up, a couple important points that we mentioned different things on this show, and sometimes it's what we remember to talk about. And there's a lot of things to talk about with financial planning and retirement planning. One of them I want to talk about is breaking up with your financial advisor. Well, before you break up, okay, if you're thinking you're not happy with who you have, or maybe you don't have an advisor, that's fine. But if you do have an advisor, or you're dealing with a local bank and the guy left or the girl left or whatever, maybe it's time you get a second opinion. And that's how I think you break up with your financial advisor. First, you get a second opinion. It's like going out on a date. You know, you have one date, then you go on another date, and you go, I like this guy or girl, right? Well, it's the same thing with this. If you're going to break up with somebody, your financial advisor, you got to decide, hey, do I really want to get rid of this person? Because A, they're not even there. They don't answer the phones. I deal with their assistant. You know, give us an opportunity to show us how we can help you. One of the ways we help people is breaking up with their advisor.
People have they're very hesitant. They're actually anxious about their advisor finding out that they're moving their money or doing something else.
I say to people, it's business. You know, if you've got to separate, and even from what we do, you know, it's business, not personal, you know, and you got, you know, it's almost like the mafia. The mafia says that it's got, you know, it's not personal, it's business. You know, if you watch all those shows that I love, right? Movies. So breaking up with your advisor is important, but it's also a part of life. You know, don't stay with somebody 30 years if you're not happy. You know, look at what the returns have been and be realistic about it. Or they're not accomplishing your goals, or they only sell one product. You know, I had a guy in my office the other day, and I said, "What kind of car do you? What kind of?" I knew he had a truck because he's in business, that kind of business. I said, "What kind of truck do you drive?" I drive a Ford. I said, "Do you think I could sell you a Chevy?" He goes, "Hell no." And you know, it's like my brother-in-law Bill. He's been driving Fords his whole life. He wouldn't buy a Chevy no matter what. But everybody's different. But if you're not happy and you want to get into a different car, well, by all means, search out. You know, get a second opinion. Let us show you how to break up with your financial advisor if that's what you want to do, you know?
Right. And I think that's why a lot of people like coming to you too, is because you're not just tied to one insurance company that you're able to offer.
True.
You know, you're able to offer the highest rates, you know, whatever their goals or needs are. You're not tied to, you know, any one company.
Right. The other thing I want to talk about is everybody says to me, what's the cost? You know? No fee from us. We get a commission based on how much money you put in from the insurance company, and the insurance company pays me out of their pocket. Doesn't come out of your pocket. That's number one. Number two, when you do a rollover, let's say you're rolling over your 401k or your IRA, and we're going to do an asset-to-asset transfer. So there's no taxes and no fees or charges that are going to be made to you. Now, they might charge you $25 to overnight you the package, you know, the check. If they do it that way, we'd prefer it be a direct deposit or a direct check to the company. But if they do that, you're allowed to do that. You have 60 days by law to roll it over. Again, no taxes, no fees. We're going to make sure that that happens professionally and correctly so you don't have any problems with the IRS, because we're responsible for that, right?
Exactly. And when you were talking about the costs and the fees, you know, there's a lot of articles or just in the news where it talks about how much in fees it actually costs you over your lifetime if you had your, you know, whatever IRA account or brokerage account,
Your
whatever
401k,
it is.
IRAs.
Costs a lot of money for people.
You want me to get started on this? Years ago, prior to probably 5 years ago, I don't remember how long ago, is they just started to mandatorily make the government, you have to disclose what the fees are. And I got to tell you, they're still not disclosed properly. What the fees are in your 401k, for example, people still don't know what the real fees are in your 401k, because there's a moving part of a financial product. Every security, every investment that's made, there's a moving part that costs money, and everybody makes money on it. So there's no real way to determine what the actual cost is. However, they have said that the average cost of an average person over a 30-year period with your 401k costs them 30% of their balance.
Oh my God.
30%. So that means if you have $1 million, instead of ending up with $1 million, you end up with $700,000. Now, maybe that number's off. Maybe it's 50% off. So instead of 30%, you lose 15% to fees. That's $150,000. And I can tell you that people are paying exorbitant amount of fees to their existing stockbrokers and financial advisors. If you think it's worth it, that's fine. The problem with fees and with recurring charges like broker fees is that they happen every year. It doesn't stop. So if you're with somebody 10, 15, 20 years, that means you have 10, 15, 20 years of fees that you're paying. So the average person out there, let's say you have $300,000, that's $3,000 a year fee on 1%. If you're paying 2%, which you probably are, that's $6,000 a year. In 10 years, you put out $60,000 to fees. Now, these are real numbers. I mean, you want to go through the numbers, I'll go through exact numbers for you. But also, I had a guy come in. We actually met for a bagel. Okay. He wasn't sure. He wanted to even talk to me. And we went and talked. We met at Einstein Bagel. Freddie Prince.
Oh, yeah.
I'll use his name. And Freddie's a great guy. We've had him on the show many times. And we sat down and I said, how much you paying? He said, I'm either paying nothing or I'm paying very little. I can't remember the exact conversation. And I said, Fred, look, you're probably paying 1 or 2% a year. He said, I'll text the guy. He texts the guy and the guy says, why do you want to know that? Now that's not the question you ask your client. You tell them, here is the answer. So I don't know if he ever got disclosed the exact fee he was paying, but he was paying 1.5% a year probably. Now, if you don't think 1.5%, it may not sound like much. On $1 million, that's $15,000 a year. Times 10 years is $150,000. 20 years is $300,000. How much is your advisor really worth? Think about it. What information changed, unless he's buying and selling and doing major things to make you money? It's highly unlikely he's worth $300,000, right?
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of bread. So these are the things we talk with clients about. It's more than just selling you a product. It's more about how do we accomplish your goals? How do we reach your goals? How do you know what you're paying for your investments? How do you know what your money's going to be worth? How do you know if the money's going to go? Look, you did a show about married women who their husband passes away. They had a broker. And the wife, within a year, I think it was 6 months. Was it 6 months or a year?
Within a year.
Within a year, the woman, the wife who inherited the money, is gone from that broker. Why do you think that is?
The relationship, no relationship.
Yeah, or
too risky.
Too risky, because generally speaking, most women want it safer, right? So these are the things that we're going to chat with you about for free. We're going to talk with you. Look, I could charge a fee. If I wanted to charge you $150 an hour or $250 an hour, I could do that, right? The Federal Trade Commission says I can run my business the way I want as long as it's not illegal, right? And we don't do anything illegal, right? Everything's legit. But my point is that getting a second opinion about your money is a big deal, If you're retiring from a company, if you've been displaced from a company, if you have a CD renewing, if you have an annuity that you don't understand how it works. Now, look, I just read an article. It's in one of these articles here from Fidelity. They said that 28% of financial advisors think their clients understand. 28% of financial advisors think that their clients understand how annuities work, when in reality, only 14% of clients understand how annuities work. Very complicated topic. However, we explain it in such a way that you get it. Put in a lump sum of money, get income for life. And you'll know that your wife or your spouse gets the income for life as well. If you get sick, it doubles your income. If there's anything left, it goes to your kids. This is simplicity selling. We don't overcomplicate things. We're not going to explain things to you, at a level that's higher than you. We're going to explain to you exactly how it is so you get it. Now, if you say to me, hey, I don't like annuities, that's fine. We'll talk with you and we'll let you know what we do. It's that simple.
Well, it's funny because some people will say they don't like annuities, and then they come in and they have an annuity.
Yeah, or they happens all the time. I mean, it literally happens many, many times. Just, they'll say, I had one lady specifically says to me, I don't think I want one of these things. And I go, what things you talking about? She goes, these annuity things. And I go, well, it's funny. You have 2 of them. She goes, no, I don't. I said, she has Fidelity. Fidelity sells annuities through their insurance division. I said, here, you have 2 annuities. You've had them for 5 years. She said, oh my God. People just don't even know they have an annuity. By the way, your pension plan is an annuity, So understand that you might have one, you don't even know it,
We were talking about how, some people don't realize they have an annuity, but also I saw this retirement security survey. It says that workers who are not enrolled in a 401k, but who think that they are enrolled, 59% of people believe that they were contributing to a 401k plan and they weren't.
59%?
Yeah.
It's funny. The lady who came in earlier today, I won't mention her name or anything, but she came in and she worked for a doctor, I'll say. And she said there was so many girls in the office, in the doctor's office, you have so many girls that work there. She said about half the women did not want the 401k. It was a SEP. It was a SEP IRA.
Oh, really?
And they did not want it. They opted out. When you're offered a SEP IRA, it's because the head person has to pay you money for free.
Wow.
Why would you opt out of something that you're going to get free money? If the company is contributing money on your name, it's free money. Why would you opt out? There are actually people who, I can't believe it sometimes, but they opt out of 401ks, SEPs, 403bs because they don't understand how they think the company's ripping them off. This is called free money, people,
Or maybe they don't want to contribute to retirement.
They
want more money coming in.
Right. But sometimes, like a SEP IRA, that the owner has to contribute money in your name. There's no cost. There's zero cost for it. This particular lady made almost $500,000 by letting the doctor contribute money to her, and people opted out of it. I mean, that's the mentality. You just don't. If you don't understand something, you have to learn about it because it's your money, right?
Right. So they opted out. They got zero. But even if you didn't contribute yourself, you're still getting free money from your employer.
Exactly. Some plans you have to contribute money, and some plans you don't, right? They have to contribute for you. So understanding some of this stuff is just, it's imperative, for somebody.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's why a lot of times you say, don't be penny wise
and pound foolish. Yeah, Ben Franklin. It's important to understand small stuff, If you go through life saying everything is Greek to me, oh, that's Greek to me. I wrote it in my book years ago, 10 years ago. People say all the time, it's Greek to me. If you walk around saying it's Greek to me, you'll never understand anything in life because everything is complicated today. Do you understand AI, Jenny?
No, I just know it works.
I mean, you get on ChatGPT or whatever the other Gemini. I've been using Gemini a lot lately on Google. It's good stuff, but how do you know it's really giving you the best answer? You don't know.
Right. And I had found this Warren Buffett quote. It says, you do not need to understand everything. Just know what you understand.
It's true. Well, I always tell people, what do you think in these radio shows and podcasts? I'll say getting from point A to point B. That means if your goal is to retire at 65 or 70, how do you get there? Well, we're going to give you a plan of, it sounds funny, but if you have a plan of action, I don't know the exact percentages in my book. I think it's 75% of people who have a plan will do better than 100% of the people who don't have a plan. Mm-hmm. Think about it. If you have a plan of action, years ago, well, let's talk about this. Today on the cell phone, you have the waypoints or I call everything Google Maps, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Google Maps. You know where you're going. Years ago, you had to either go have a map in your hand that you opened up like this, or you had to write down the directions from your buddy who lived in Tennessee how to get to the house, right? Today, you have a road map.
Well, I remember printing out the MapQuest.
MapQuest, yes.
And that was in my time.
And now this tells you how to do it. Well, we're doing MapQuest for you for your retirement. We're telling you how to get there. Mm-hmm. Put this much money in, get this much income, and it will last for this long. In fact, it'll last forever. Okay, you just have to believe what we're telling you is correct. Now, you might ask your cousin Susie or your Uncle Harvey in Tennessee, but you have to understand that some of this stuff you're never going to understand. When you go into look, I heard a guy say this. Remember our old office, how noisy the guy next to us was? When this guy spoke, everybody could hear him. And he was telling this lady on the phone, I don't know what he did for a living, but he told this lady on the phone, he said, look, ma'am, I know we're short on time, but he said, look, ma'am, he says, all I know is when I go in the morning and I push the button in my car, it starts up. He goes, I don't care about all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that reality for some things that you buy? Mm-hmm. You know how to push the button and it works. Well, that's what we kind of do for you with your retirement. It sounds simple, but if you can explain something that's very complicated simply, that means that it can be done, right?
Exactly. Go to JupiterJoe.com. Give Jupiter Joe a call now, 561-743-0999, or go to JupiterJoe.com. You're listening to the Jupiter Joe Money Show, and we're wrapping up. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.